Plato, Part 1. He watched his teacher die. Plato did not begin as a philosopher. He began as a witness. He was young. He was talented. He came from a respected family in Athens. He could have chosen politics, power, a safe life. Then he watched his teacher die. Plato was there when Socrates was judged. He was there when the city turned away. And he was there when the cup was lifted. That moment broke something inside him. Plato did not shout. He did not protest. He did not fight the guards. He stayed silent. And that silence followed him for the rest of his life. After Socrates' death, Plato lost trust in the city. He no longer believed that crowds could protect truth. He no longer believed that democracy always led to justice. He asked himself a dangerous question. If a good man can be killed by law, what kind of world are we living in? Plato believed the problem was not one bad decision. The problem was deeper. People were confused. They saw shadows and called them truth. He later wrote, "The measure of a man is what he does with power." And Athens had failed that test. Plato left the city. He traveled. He listened. He observed other societies, other ways of thinking. He searched for something stable, something that could not be destroyed by anger or fear. During this time, Plato began to form a powerful idea. What if the world we see is not the real one? What if truth exists beyond noise, opinions, and crowds? He believed that real truth is quiet, invisible, permanent. He once wrote, "Reality is created by the mind." Plato did not want to argue in the marketplace like Socrates. He did not want to organize nature like Aristotle. He wanted to escape the chaos and to build a world that could not kill its wisest voice. Part 2. He left the city to find truth. After the death of Socrates, Plato could not stay in Athens. The city felt unsafe. The laws felt fragile. The people felt unpredictable. Plato believed something was broken, so he left. He traveled for many years, to Egypt, to southern Italy, to places where knowledge was treated with respect. He observed how different societies lived, how they ruled, how they failed. Plato was searching for stability. He believed that opinions change, but truth should not. Crowds change their minds. Emotions rise and fall, but truth, he believed, must be permanent. He began to think deeply about knowledge. Why do people disagree about what is good? Why do laws change so easily? Why can a wise man be punished by the same system meant to protect him? Plato believed the problem was the senses. What we see can deceive us. What we hear can confuse us. What we feel can change. He once wrote, "Opinion is the medium between knowledge and ignorance." For Plato, most people lived in opinion, not in truth. During his travels, Plato developed one of his most famous ideas. The world we see is not the real world. He believed there is a higher level of reality, a world of perfect forms, perfect justice, perfect beauty, perfect goodness. The things we see around us are only imperfect copies. This idea was radical. It meant that truth does not belong to the crowd. It belongs to understanding. Plato believed education should not give people facts. It should turn the mind toward what is real. He once said, "Education is the kindling of a flame, not the filling of a vessel." Slowly, his pain turned into purpose. Plato was no longer only mourning his teacher. He was building something new, something stronger than laws, something quieter than power. And soon, he would return to Athens, not to argue, but to teach. Part 3. The cave that trapped everyone. Plato came back to Athens with one question in his mind. Why do people fight for things that are not real? He looked at the city and saw the same problem again and again. People argued loudly. They defended opinions. They followed leaders. But very few actually understood what they were doing. Plato believed most people were trapped, not by chains, not by walls, but by what they believed was true. So, he created a story, a simple story. He asked people to imagine a cave. Inside the cave, people are chained from birth. They cannot turn their heads. They can only look at the wall in front of them. Behind them, there is a fire. Between the fire and the people, objects move. On the wall, shadows appear. The people see the shadows and believe this is reality. They give names to the shadows. They argue about the shadows. They fight over the shadows. But the shadows are not real things. Plato said this is how most people live. We see appearances. We hear opinions. We repeat what others say, and we call it truth. He believed that if one person escaped the cave and saw the real world, the light would hurt his eyes. Truth would feel painful at first, but slowly he would understand. And if he returned to the cave to tell others, they would laugh at him. They would get angry. They might even kill him. Plato was not talking about a cave. He was talking about Athens. He was talking about people. He was talking about us. He once wrote, "No one is more hated than he who speaks the truth." Plato believed education is not comfortable. It is disturbing. It breaks illusions, and many people prefer illusions. This idea made him dangerous, not because he used force, but because he questioned reality itself. And this is where Plato made a decision that would change history. He would not try to wake everyone up. He would teach those who were ready. Part 4. A school for those who could see. Plato understood something important. You cannot force people to see truth. You cannot drag them out of the cave. If someone is not ready, light will feel like pain. So Plato stopped speaking to the crowd. Instead, he created a place. Outside the city of Athens, in a quiet area, Plato opened a school. He called it the Academy. It was not a school like others. There were no loud speeches, no simple answers, only questions. Students walked together. They talked slowly. They argued calmly. Plato believed learning should be shared, not imposed. He once said, "Thinking is the talking of the soul with itself." At the Academy, Plato taught that leaders should be philosophers, not because philosophers want power, but because they understand limits. He believed most problems in society come from ignorance, from people who act before they understand. Plato imagined a different kind of city, a city ruled by reason, by wisdom, by people trained to see beyond shadows. He wrote about this in The Republic. He said that power without understanding destroys both the ruler and the people. And he had seen this before, with Athens, with the death of Socrates. But Plato's ideas were dangerous. He was saying that not everyone should rule, that not every opinion is equal, that truth is rare and difficult. Many people felt offended. Some laughed at him. Some ignored him. Some felt threatened. Plato knew this would happen. He believed truth does not need approval. It needs time, and time was something he was willing to give. Inside the Academy, a new generation was forming, young minds learning how to think, not what to repeat. One of those minds was quiet, curious, patient. His name was Aristotle. Part 5. When ideas faced power. Plato did not want his ideas to live only on paper. He wanted to see if wisdom could rule. So when an invitation came from Sicily, he accepted it. The ruler of Syracuse wanted advice. He wanted to learn how to govern wisely. For Plato, this felt like a test. Could a philosopher shape power? Plato traveled far from Athens. He entered the world of politics, the world of ambition, fear, and control, very different from the academy. At first he was hopeful. He spoke about justice, about balance, about reason. He believed a ruler could be trained to value truth over desire. But reality was harsh. Power did not listen easily. Pride stood in the way. The ruler wanted advice, but not limits. He wanted wisdom, as long as it did not restrict him. Plato began to understand something painful. Ideas are clean, power is not. The ruler grew impatient. Plato's words felt uncomfortable, dangerous. Soon, trust disappeared. Plato was no longer a guest. He became a problem. At one point, Plato's life was in danger. He was imprisoned. Later, he was sold into slavery. A philosopher, reduced to a price. He was eventually rescued by friends and returned to Athens. This experience changed him. Plato realized that wisdom cannot be forced into power, that truth does not control rulers unless they choose it themselves. He once wrote, "The price good men pay for indifference to public affairs is to be ruled by evil men." But he also learned that good ideas alone are not enough. After Sicily, Plato stopped trying to rule through others. He returned to teaching, returned to the academy, returned to patience. And there, quietly, his influence grew stronger than any throne. Part 6. The man who chose ideas over power. Plato returned to Athens older and quieter. He had seen power closely. He had felt its danger, and he had learned its limits. He no longer believed that wisdom could rule the world directly, but he believed something else. Ideas last longer than rulers. Plato spent the rest of his life teaching, writing, thinking. He did not chase influence, he let it grow naturally. At the academy, students came and went. Some stayed for years, some left early, but all of them carried something with them, a new way of seeing. Plato believed that truth is not loud, it does not compete, it waits. He once wrote, "The beginning is the most important part of the work," and for Plato, the beginning was always the mind. He believed education should change how a person sees the world, not what they repeat, but how they think. Unlike Socrates, Plato did not die for truth. Unlike Aristotle, he did not organize the world completely. He stood between them, between question and system, between doubt and structure, between chaos and order. Plato lived long enough to see his academy grow, and long enough to see his student, Aristotle, go beyond him. This did not trouble him. He believed that truth does not belong to one person. It moves, it evolves, it improves. Plato died around 347 BC, quietly, without a trial, without drama. But his ideas stayed. They shaped philosophy, education, politics, even how we understand reality itself. When we question appearances, when we search for deeper meaning, when we believe that truth exists beyond opinion, Plato is there. Not as a ruler, not as a hero, but as a guide, showing that sometimes the most powerful choice is to walk away from power and invest in ideas.
Thanks! Please subscribe and like. Spin a new yarn with us every week. See you there!